Hey, I'm Jen Shotwell, your borderline therapist. Today we're going to be talking about types of trauma. Well, not really types today. We'll get into that too. But the trauma that when somebody says, my trauma is worse than yours, or that's not even trauma, which we hear a lot right now between like the millennial generation, Gen Z, and like the boomers. Boomers love to come in and be able to say, like, that's not trauma. And we actually do it to ourselves. So it doesn't matter what happened. War is not trauma. There's actually even a Instagram video that I got some of this from, so I can try to tag him. War is not trauma. Kidnapping is not trauma. Parents yelling at you is not trauma. What trauma is how you feel in relation to the event. It's the wound left in the body in relation to the event. So when somebody says, your parents yelling at you doesn't even compare to my trauma, what they're saying is that the events don't compare, which is 100% true. There is a huge scale of trauma from 0 to 10, and the events that lead to that are very, very different. But the wound that is left from it, that is what they're referring to as trauma. Okay, so some of you might be thinking like, okay, yeah, so their parents yelled at them. These people are in a famine. Famine. These people are in a famine. They just got yelled at. They didn't get the Barbie that they wanted to. I got beat with a belt. It's not the same. And again, the events are not the same. But to think of trauma as just a wound, if your kid is at a park or you as a kid were at a park, I'll say it differently. If somebody is going down a slide at a park and they fall, every single time somebody falls, their wound is going to look different. It is not the same. Sometimes people break their arms when they fall off a slide. Other kids just scratch themselves. That's why trauma looks so different, even when the events are not the same or not comparable, because we don't know what also happened before. We don't know how many times they've fallen off the slide. We don't know how high their slide might be. We don't know who's there to pick them up when the slide's done. And so all of that factors into how big of a wound the trauma is. The event is just the Kickstarter of trauma. So when anybody ever tells you that like your trauma is not comparable to theirs, or you find yourself thinking that, think about it being a wound that's actually the trauma and not the event. That's it. Now you know.